Are you scared to quit your job because of money? You're not crazy for wanting stability, but I'm going to share a couple of things I wish I'd known before I quit my draining, boring job to follow my passion. In this video, I'm going to share my story of quitting my job without really having a plan and what I wish somebody had told me about money and life before I did it. If we haven't met yet, my name is Lucy. I am a work-life balance coach for overworked 9-to-5 women, and if you want to see more content from me like this, make sure you hit subscribe in the corner at any time during this video. So for context, I used to be a textbook people pleaser. I would always say yes to things I didn't really want to do, and then when I got there I would just be resentful the whole time. You know, I'd be that like super moody person in the corner at a party. I was a real hoot. I eventually learnt how to put myself first unapologetically and make decisions without worrying about what everybody thought, which is what I teach my clients how to do, by the way. And this is how I started working for myself and then quitting my part-time job to go full-time in my first business. Cut to the most stressful time of my whole life. I jumped without knowing what was going to happen, and although it did all work out, there's a few things I'd go back and tell my past self to avoid a lot of heartache and stress. So, a little backstory. In university, my professor said in passing that most people don't get work-life balance until they're in their 50s. Excuse me? That was a hard pass from me. So by the time I finished university, I already knew that I wanted to work for myself because I realized I would have to work hard either way, regardless of whether I was working for myself or working other people. So I decided to work hard for myself instead. So instead of looking for graduate jobs, I went back to being a part-time medical receptionist, which is what I'd done part-time all through university. So I was pretty happy. I was working part-time. I was building my first business, The Little Content Co., where I did content marketing for businesses. Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I am a huge believer in taking ownership of your decisions. Like, if you're going to complain about something, you have to do something about it. Otherwise, you take responsibility for it. Was it the perfect situation? No, I didn't want to be a medical receptionist for my whole life, but it was paying rent and I was building my business pretty steadily. My job wasn't exactly toxic and I had already learned how to, you know, say no to shifts that I didn't want to do. But after a few months, it became toxic to my bigger dream. I remember one afternoon about 6 months into this working part-time and building my business, I was on like my 5th cup of coffee, staring into the abyss and like, why am I so tired when I'm so caffeinated? And then it hit me. No amount of coffee will help you if you hate what you're doing. Coffee doesn't fix a tired soul. That's when I decided it was time to quit and go full-time in my business. At the time, I was making like $5,000 a month, so it seemed like the right moment for me. Question, are you scared to quit your job because of money? Are you thinking about making the big leap into something else, but you're not sure if now is the right time? Let me know in the comments. What followed that resignation was probably the most stressful 3 months of my entire life. I was super excited to be out on my own, but then right before Christmas, my biggest client pulled out. I was really deep in overdraft. My husband was helping me pay rent, and I had no idea what I was doing. Basically, I felt like I couldn't stop working for a single second. Work-life balance went out the window and it was replaced with a lot of crying in the shower so that people couldn't see. I was so worried that I was going to have to get a new part-time job and ask my old boss for a reference, and then she would know that I had failed. So this is not a story about staying in a job you hate because it's not safe to follow your passion. If you're thinking about quitting your really draining, overworking job, but you don't really have a plan and you're worried about money, here are a few things I wish I'd known. Number one, you don't have to have everything figured out. Ever. Nobody actually does. After I went through those really stressful periods of, clients pulling out and not really knowing what I was doing, I decided I actually wanted to pursue coaching, which is what I do now. I picked up a few side hustles, I started dog walking, and was basically figuring it out as I went. You don't have to quit your toxic job and land immediately in your dream position. You can make it up and figure it out as you go along. Number 2 is that money comes from really unexpected places sometimes. I was so wrapped up in whether other people thought that my business was successful that I was ignoring potential sources of income, and I was fixated on just having to run back to my old job. I got in this really weird mindset that if I didn't make the money in my business, it didn't count. But the truth is, money is money. Money that you make in side hustles on your way to your dream life still pays real bills. If you want to learn how I got on top of money and how we have more than enough money for bills and having fun, I have linked my Money Mastery workshop in the links below. The third thing that I wish I knew was that staying longer in that job wouldn't have made those 3 months any easier. I wouldn't have been any more mentally prepared. That client probably still would have pulled out, and I might never have decided that I wanted to be a work-life balance coach. Was it hard? Absolutely! Cue B-roll of Lucy crying in the shower. But prolonging that resignation wouldn't have made any of that any easier. Number 4 is that your worst case scenario probably isn't the worst thing in the world. My worst case scenario was that I would have to go back to my old job or ask them for a reference. But that doesn't actually put me in any mortal danger, even though it physically hurt to think about. Putting yourself first is still more important. And that worst case scenario often doesn't happen, and I've seen this time and again with my clients. Lesson number 5 that I learned was that you should rest even if you don't think you deserve it. I started going crazy because I felt like I couldn't stop working even for a second, but it actually makes it more difficult to be creative and be a good problem solver when you're that tired. Lastly, it takes a lot more energy to do something that you hate than to take a chance on yourself. Sitting in a job that you despise and that drains you and overworks you and doesn't respect you is always going to be more stressful long term than gritting your teeth and taking a chance. I want you to be scared for a moment or for a couple of months rather than risk being unhappy for the rest of your life. I know which path I am always going to choose. If any of this is resonating and you don't feel like working, you need to watch this video next on setting boundaries immediately. Thanks so much for watching another one of my videos. If you want to see more content from me, make sure you like and subscribe so we can be friends, and I will see you next week.